When we talk about who built America, we throw around names like Edison, Ford, and Carnegie. But what if I told you that some of the most important developers, the inventors, strategists, and economic minds who actually made this country work, were Black Americans whose names never made it into your textbooks? Not assistants, not helpers. The actual architects of American development. One designed the nation's capital when the white architect quit. One saved the entire Southern economy from collapse. And one literally turned the lights on in America. And you've probably never heard any of their names. Today, we're uncovering three people who didn't just survive history, they developed the United States, and it's time you knew their names. See, the United States didn't just grow because of famous inventors or politicians. It grew because of thinkers, farmers, and builders, many of them Black, whose ideas literally shaped the American economy. But here's the problem. For most of American history, enslaved people couldn't own patents. Even free Black people faced systems designed to steal their work or erase their names. If you were enslaved, your master owned your invention. If you were free, white businessmen could steal your designs and claim them as their own. This wasn't accidental. This was systemic. This was designed to build a narrative that Black people couldn't innovate, couldn't create, couldn't develop anything. But the truth? The truth is that Black innovation built this country. From the capital city itself to the light in your home, Black brilliance powered American development. Most of their stories erased, stolen, or buried in footnotes. Until now. Benjamin Banneker. We start in 1731 with Benjamin Banneker. Born free in Maryland, he was the son of a formerly enslaved father and a free mother. He had almost no formal education. He taught himself mathematics, astronomy, and engineering by borrowing books and staying up all night studying the stars. At 22, he built a wooden clock entirely from scratch, the first of its kind in America. It kept perfect time for 40 years. But that was just the beginning. Banneker became one of the greatest astronomers in America, calculating solar and lunar eclipses with stunning accuracy. He published almanacs that rivaled Benjamin Franklin's, used by farmers, sailors, and scholars across the country. But his greatest contribution came in 1791, when George Washington appointed him to help survey and design the new federal capital, Washington, D.C. He worked alongside Pierre L'Enfant, the French architect who designed the city's layout. But here's where the story gets incredible. L'Enfant got into arguments with the commissioners and quit, taking all the original plans with him. The entire project was in jeopardy. Years of work, millions of dollars, the future capital of the United States, all held hostage by one man's ego. And that's when Benjamin Banneker saved the nation. From memory, from pure mental recall, Banneker reproduced the entire city plan. Streets, buildings, measurements, coordinates, everything. The project continued, the capital was built, and the city that represents American democracy exists today because a self-taught Black mathematician refused to let it die. Every time you see the White House, the Capitol, the National Mall, you're seeing Benjamin Banneker's work. But Banneker didn't just design buildings, he challenged the system itself. Thomas Jefferson had written that Black people were intellectually inferior, so Banneker sent him a letter, along with a copy of his almanac, as living proof that Jefferson was wrong. He wrote, "Sir, how pitiable it is to reflect that you should be so fully convinced of the benevolence of the Father of mankind, while at the same time counteracting his mercies by retaining so absolutely false an idea of our intellectual character." Jefferson responded, acknowledging Banneker's genius, but never truly changing his views, because some people would rather adjust their theories than admit their racism was wrong. Benjamin Banneker died in 1806. His house mysteriously burned down the day of his funeral, destroying most of his journals and research. But his work survived, his almanac survived, and the city he helped design stands as a monument to what Black brilliance can achieve, even when the system tries to erase it. George Washington Carver. By the early 1900s, the American South was dying. Decades of cotton farming had drained the soil. The land was exhausted. Crops were failing. Farmers, Black and white, were going broke. The entire Southern economy was on the verge of collapse, and nobody knew how to fix it. Enter George Washington Carver. Born enslaved in Missouri around 1864, kidnapped as an infant, orphaned, and raised by his former enslaver's family. He walked miles to find schools that would teach Black children, worked his way through high school, applied to college after college, rejected because of his race. Finally, Iowa State Agricultural College accepted him. He became their first Black student, then their first Black faculty member. He earned a master's degree in agricultural science and became one of the most respected botanists in America. In 1896, Booker T. Washington invited him to Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. Washington told him, "Come help our people." Carver arrived and saw the devastation. Cotton had destroyed the soil. Farmers were trapped in poverty. The South needed a miracle. So Carver got to work. And what he did next rebuilt the entire Southern economy from the ground up, literally. He introduced crop rotation, Instead of planting cotton every year, which drains nitrogen from soil, alternate with peanuts, sweet potatoes, and soybeans, which restore it. The soil came back to life, yields increased. Farmland that was worthless became productive again. But there was a problem. Now farmers had all these peanuts, sweet potatoes, and soybeans, and no market for them. So Carver created the market. Over 300 uses for peanuts, over 100 for sweet potatoes, 75 for pecans, peanut butter, cooking oil, soap, shampoo, cosmetics, ink, dye gasoline, rubber, plastics, paper, livestock feed. He didn't just invent products, he created entire industries. The peanut industry alone became worth millions. The South's economy stabilized, farmers diversified, communities survived. But Carver didn't hoard his knowledge. He created a mobile classroom, literally a wagon that traveled to rural farms, teaching black farmers sustainable agriculture for free. He didn't want patents, didn't want profit. He wanted liberation through knowledge. He said, "It is not the style of clothes one wears, neither the kind of automobile one drives, nor the amount of money one has in the bank that counts. These mean nothing. It is the service we render to others that really counts." Eventually, even white America had to acknowledge him. He spoke before Congress, advised presidents, received honorary degrees from previously all-white universities. But after his death in 1943, his story got simplified, sanitized, reduced to the peanut guy. Kids learn he invented peanut butter, which isn't even true, and move on. They don't learn that he saved the Southern economy, that he revolutionized sustainable agriculture, that his methods are still used today. George Washington Carver didn't just save the South. He pioneered sustainable agriculture decades before it became mainstream. He proved that science combined with service could transform entire societies. He was born enslaved with nothing, and he rebuilt an entire economy with his mind. If you're liking this content and you want to help us continue to put out videos like this uncovering the black innovators who built America, please leave a subscribe. These are the stories that should be taught in every classroom. Your support helps us tell them. Lewis Latimer. You've heard of Thomas Edison, right? The man who invented the light bulb, the great American genius, the Wizard of Menlo Park. Except Edison didn't make the light bulb practical. The bulbs he created burned out in hours. They were expensive. They were unreliable. Without a major breakthrough, electric light would have remained a rich man's novelty. Enter Lewis Latimer, the man who actually made electric light work. Born in 1848 in Boston to parents who had escaped slavery, his father was arrested under the Fugitive Slave Act. The family had to buy his freedom. Lewis had little formal education. He joined the Union Navy during the Civil War at 15. After the war, he started as an office boy at a patent law firm. But Latimer wasn't content being an office boy. He taught himself mechanical drawing, bought used drafting tools, practiced at night after work. Eventually, he became chief draftsman, one of the best technical illustrators in the country. In 1876, Alexander Graham Bell needed someone to draft the patent drawings for his new invention, the telephone. He hired Lewis Latimer. Latimer's drawings were so precise, so technically perfect, that they helped Bell win the patent over competing claims. The telephone became reality partly because of Latimer's expertise. But Latimer's greatest contribution was still to come. By the 1880s, Edison had his light bulb, but it was basically useless. The filament, the part that actually glows, burned out in hours. Edison tried bamboo, tried paper, tried dozens of materials. Nothing lasted long enough to be practical. Lewis Latimer studied the problem, and in 1881, he solved it. He invented and patented an improved carbon filament that lasted far longer than anything Edison or his team had created. Where Edison's bulbs lasted hours, Latimer's lasted months. Suddenly, electric light wasn't a novelty. It was practical. It was affordable. It was the future. Latimer didn't stop there. He supervised the installation of electric lights in New York, Philadelphia, Montreal, and London. He wrote the first book explaining how to install and maintain electric lighting systems. He became the expert that utilities called when they needed to understand the new technology. Eventually, Edison himself hired Latimer. He became the only black member of Edison's Board of Patent Control, the elite team defending Edison's patents in court. But here's where the story gets infuriating. Edison got all the credit. His name became synonymous with electric light. His face is on the bulb packages. Lewis Latimer? Most people have never heard his name. The man who made the light bulb work, erased from history. It wasn't accidental. It was racism. A black man couldn't be allowed to be a genius, couldn't be allowed to be essential, so his contributions were minimized, ignored, erased. Latimer lived until 1928. He wrote poetry, he painted, he fought for civil rights. He was a Renaissance man whose brilliance extended far beyond engineering. He said, "We create our future by well improving present opportunities." He lived that truth every day. Every time you flip a light switch, you're using Lewis Latimer's innovation. Every street light, every lamp, every illuminated screen. His genius made it possible. Some schools teach his story now. Some memorials bear his name. But it's not enough. Because he didn't just help Edison, he made modern life possible. Why they were forgotten. So why don't we know these names? It wasn't ignorance, it was design. History wasn't written by the builders. It was written by those who benefited from their silence. The patent system actively discriminated. If you were enslaved, you couldn't own a patent, your enslaver did. Even free black inventors faced theft, intimidation, and erasure. Many black inventors had to use white intermediaries to file patents. Those intermediaries often took credit. The innovation was stolen in plain sight. Media glorified white inventors exclusively. Newspapers, magazines, textbooks. They built a mythology that innovation was white, that genius was white, that America was built by white minds. But the documents don't lie. The patents exist. The testimony exists. The work speaks for itself. Modern historians are finally uncovering these stories. The Smithsonian, the Library of Congress, scholars like Henry Louis Gates Jr. They're recovering the names: Banneker, CARVER, LATIMER, not footnotes, not assistants, architects of American development. And understanding why they were erased helps us understand why black contributions are still minimized today. The same systems that buried Banneker are still operating, just more subtly. Benjamin Banneker built our Capitol when the white architect quit, saved the city that represents American democracy. George Washington Carver rebuilt the South soil when cotton had destroyed it, saved an entire regional economy from collapse. Lewis Latimer lit America when Edison's bulbs kept going dark, made modern life as we know it possible. These men didn't just develop America, they defined it. And they did it while being told they were inferior, while being denied credit, while watching white men take glory for their genius. The least we can do is remember their names. And these are just 3. There are hundreds more. Black inventors, innovators, developers whose names were stolen, buried, or ignored. Their legacy lives in every black scientist, engineer, and inventor working today. Every black student studying STEM. Every innovator fighting for credit in their own name. America wasn't built by a few great white men. It was built by millions of brilliant minds, many of them black, many of them stolen from history. History is not just what happened, it's who we choose to remember. So, let's choose to remember Banneker, CARVER, LATIMER. Let's teach their names in our schools. Let's honor their contributions. Let's stop pretending that American development happened without black brilliance. Which of these 3 innovators inspired you most? Or tell us about another black inventor we should cover next. Comment below. If this video opened your eyes to history you never learned, hit that subscribe button. We're uncovering the black innovators who built the world you live in. And there are so many more stories to tell. Share this with someone who still thinks black Americans were just passengers in American progress. Share it with a student who needs to see themselves in STEM. Share it with anyone who believes that history tells the whole truth. And next time, we're telling the story of the black woman mathematician who helped save Apollo 13, another genius whose name was nearly erased from history. Black Americans didn't just survive history, they developed it. They tried to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds. Total runtime, approximately 20 minutes.